We've got a brand new stadium rendering from Oklahoma. Construction is well underway in the Windy City, and we talk brand refresh with Sporting Cascades. That and more on today's edition of Morning Kickaround. Good morning and welcome to the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you feeling? My name is Robert Kerr, local soccer guy alongside Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How are you feeling? Welcome on in.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Third day of kindergarten. Everything's going great. No worries there. Just in case everybody was, well, you can hear it in my voice that maybe Papa got a little upset this morning about not listening, but that's neither here nor there. What's here is that we've got our ultras showing up, popping up. Mr. Bob, the first one through the door today. I don't know if he's ever been in the place of honor as the first one through the door in the comments, but he, of course, is doing Mr. Bob things. And in honor of Mr. Bob, we are, well, first let's go ahead and do that. Big old clang for Mr. Bob. In fact, look at what I'm wearing today. Look at Clank. The clanger is what I'm wearing. Is this going to stand the test of time, this t-shirt, this design? We don't know yet. It's coming. We'll see. But I wanted to mention that as we continue to dot our map with our ultras and our supporters, Rob, we have some thoughts about handing out some honors to those who support us best, right?
Yes, indeed we do. And we have some badges and some other honors that we're going to add to the map that we dot at the end of each Friday's show. We add all the dots of all of our members that interact with us and put them across the map, akin to all the clubs and stadiums that are popping up all over the country here, which we'll get to today. But when we dot the map on Friday, we'll have some extra badges and some exciting things for most clanged MK Ultra, as well as some other merits along the way. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. Amongst the intrigue on the Morning Kickaround channel, some reaction to the post after Monday's show. I put up a poll, and which would happen first, USL's pro rel plan or the EPL American owners voting to stop it or put a flag up for that. And it was thoroughly pushed back. 80% of the voters saying USL's pro rel happens first. So,
well, I mean, to be fair to those who jumped in the comments, there's a plan. We're going to use some fingers, a plan for the USL to start pro rel, and that may get a reference today on the show. There's no plan, at least not convincingly reported, for anything to happen to the way promotion and relegation works in England. But I think, and I know that we would take an act of parliament to stop promotion and relegation in England. Certainly there would be some regulation that would probably step in if certain owners in the Premier League got together and tried to do a thing where they're like, all right, we're getting rid of this promotion and relegation nonsense. That would certainly cause an uproar in England. Not to say that they wouldn't push back against it, just to imagine a scenario, because how far down this capitalism, corporate business, private equity investment road are we, Rob? We're pretty far down that road. So I don't think anything's unimaginable at this point.
Yeah, we are walking into uncharted territory. Like Brian from Fort Wayne said, building the airplane while it's in the air mid-flight keeps coming to mind ever since that. Yeah, new logo in the top, taking that for a little bit of a test drive. And going back to the members and the dotting of the map, I think we need at least a new name or some sort of way to recognize our original 7.
OTs.
That have been members since the very start, 16 months since the MK Ultra program started. We got Nate, Angus, Thomas, Luke, Soccer Night in Detroit, Tulsa Mario, and Penzoni 343. The 7. That's our 7 aside.
Are they? Are they the Magnificent 7? Are they the 7 Samurai? Perhaps I've been listening to a lot of
7 strikers.
Is there teams with 7 strikers? Is that
maybe the Ultras are? Maybe try new formation out there.
All right, we'll come up. We're workshopping this, guys. This is not anything we planned. We're just talking about this 7, the Magnificent 7. Shout out to to Bill who's going with that one. And yes, honors for Mr. Bob. All right. So I know we got a lot of business to get. By the way, let me say hi to everybody because you deserve that as well. So again,
Yeah.
Mr. Bob is imploring people to do gift memberships. Follow Mr. Bob's lead. We will not say no to that. Armando, good morning to you. Jeff is here. Luis Blanco is here. Dwayne, my guy. Mr. Bob again. Sorry. Shrimper Steve. It's an afternoon watch for our guy Shrimper Steve over there in the United Kingdom. I see Darth Cisco is in the building. Leandering is here. I already said hi to Mr. Bill, Council of Bills, Kate, Chris, Tulsa Mario. Tulsa gonna get some love today on the show.
A lot of Tulsa
Let's
talk
see.
here today.
Cool Will. Who else am I missing? Jack Thornby. I'm so glad we got Jack a membership after all those efforts from Mr. Bob to get Jack a membership. Soccer Night in Detroit. Ryan Smelter, our guy in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Go, baby. That's it. That's what we're talking about. A full 5. That's a Clang situation, right? 5 is definitely a Clang situation. Good old
Getting
Clang
clanged on
FC
a
over there.
Wednesday. Getting
Yeah,
clanged on a
Clang
Wednesday.
FC. Midweek Clang. It's, yeah, there we go. All right. So if you pop in and you're an ultra, you will get a hello, you'll get a thank you, but let's move on. My voice is really struggling. Let's move on, Rob.
Yeah, you really had a rough morning out there at drop off there, I can tell. But yeah, we've got a great show on the
Drop
way.
off. Get in the car, let's get moving situation. Don't ask me to watch television at 7:30 in the morning situation. That's what was going on. That's what was going on.
I think I lost most of my hair with trying to get the shoes on, trying to get out the door with my two. That was always a pinch point in the efficiency of getting out the door in those sort of mornings. But we got a great guest on the way talking about brand refreshes, stadium news in multiple locations, and much, much more. Stick with us as we kick off Wednesday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Let's go.
Let's
Good old morning. My name is Robert. He's Jason. We are talking stadiums today and taking a look out at Tulsa. FC Tulsa has a new rendering and some new notes about a possible stadium. They currently play and share in a baseball stadium, but there's been talk of a soccer specific one. And here's a look at it, and it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's some architectural things happening there on the roof, a couple of covered stands, and then the open end model, I guess, is pretty standard at this level of soccer. The details we have, and I know Tulsa Mario will jump in here to either fill us in or correct us if we get this wrong. But my understanding is that this is part of a whole district plan, right? A development district. What is it? Project what, Rob? Project Nexus, is that right?
Yes, I think that's what this is all called, Project Nexus, which doesn't sound like a James Bond villain corporation.
No, it doesn't at all sound like somebody who might poison our water in order to extract money from world governments or anything like that. Here's a map of where I believe this is supposed to go. So you see it's kind of northwest of downtown there. It's $700 million needed to get this development plan off the ground. And the stadium, as you can imagine, does not cost $700 million. So this is simply, let's put a soccer stadium as an anchor for this other development district. And I'm sorry to be cynical, Rob, but of course I'm thinking, okay, is this really going to happen? Does that investment come? Does the community see enough value in this plan beyond the soccer stadium to make this happen?
I mean, that's a lot of people and influence all working in the same direction. And we've been doing this long enough, and there's been enough stories like this to know that these public-private things can get contentious and a lot of things can get in the way of them. So it is nice to see a look at it, and that there's considerations like awnings over the fans and all those are the sort of things we like to see when we look at these renderings. But when it's in a larger development, I mean, I think it's plain to see that it's a real estate play, and they're trying to make this whole reconstruction a year-round affair and it just happens to have a stadium in it. Obviously, folks that are inclined and are fans of FC Tulsa, I'm sure that this is exciting news that there's a look at it, but it seems like there might be a long way to go with this plan.
So what we understand is that this is meant to be 8,000 seats initially. So, Tulsa wants to get out of the baseball stadium. Every lower division soccer team knows that their future is tied to their stadium situation, right? Where they play their games is almost the most important thing to long-term survival as a lower division soccer team. And we know that Tulsa's had success on the field. They made a final last year. But in terms of the business of FC Tulsa, getting a stadium, being able to control, get match day revenue, having a proper venue that displays the game the way it's meant to be shown is huge. So this is supposed to be 8,000 seats initially that would be expanded to 15,000 seats. So I imagine that's a phase one, phase two situation based on what we see, Rob. And 15,000, that's a magic number, right? Why is that a magic number?
Because that is the current PLS requirements for a first division team's stadium. And then we've talked about that quite a bit on the show as well. These benchmarks to hit while those rules are in play. We're hoping that there's some news about waivers or alterations for those standards. But as they are, you have to have a 15,000 person stadium to do that. We saw a prototype for this sort of logistical planning out in Rhode Island, right? It is of a certain size now with space and kind of like the framework, the ability to add that. I'm curious if these open ends we're seeing in this rendering might have that's where the bigger numbers would come. And
Right.
if there was some sort of like that framework, that steel work that was there to kind of like have that intentionality, to use a corporate buzzword, that we're going to build it to a certain size, but with that ability to scale up if the need or the opportunity arises.
Yeah, so there is a story over at tulsaworld.com on this.
Yeah, who's a subscriber over?
Your friends over here are paywalled, so we need a subscriber to Tulsa World to maybe hook us up with this. I'm actually seeing some images of the area, like the land and sort of where this would sit, approaching downtown Tulsa. Let me see if I can get a couple more things together here briefly before we move on, Rob, just kind of again illustrate what exactly is going on here for Tulsa. It's I think, and we've seen Louisville. We're seeing, there are shovels in the ground in Detroit. I haven't seen a recent update on construction in Detroit. I imagine there's been some progress made. You and I visited Pawtucket. So Tulsa Mario shared a paywalled gifted version on the Discord of the Tulsa Ward story. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I missed that. My apologies. I should have checked the Discord. Rob, we should have checked the Discord. Why were we in the Discord? We're Tulsa Mario's doing the work. If you want to get access to stuff like that, please become an ultra, join the Discord, and you can partake in all these discussions. We've seen Pawtucket. Give me another small soccer stadium in America that's been built that's still, or that is under construction. Like, there are a couple of these, right? We know there are a couple of these. And to me, the biggest indication, and I know you can talk about the way the investment is happening and who's putting money in and whether they're just using this as leverage towards a real estate play or whatever. But to me, Omaha's is happening. What do you think Omaha is happening? Thank you to Regino here. That is the biggest indicator of the growth of soccer in America, like the biggest modern indicator, because it's one thing to build a soccer stadium for an MLS team with a billionaire owner, or even a team that doesn't have billionaire owners, but is clearly, invested in the top level of the game, and they're big and ambitious, and they've got an Apple deal. This is something different, right? And hopefully this is the kind of thing that becomes a trend across the country.
Yeah, you'd hope so, and hopefully that this Nexus development is beneficial for all parties involved, and it's not imbalanced in taxpayer funding or land that was promised for something else. Hopefully this is a positive for all those involved. Jumping into the comments, Tulsa Mario shared this news with friends out in Albuquerque, it seems, and very excited about that. Congratulations going out to uh, Tulsa Mario from the comments, and he's excited. He spent a lot of time cheering on FC Tulsa, of course, and one of my favorite interviews on this show, and one of our Magnificent Seven. So it's exciting out there, and playing in a baseball stadium now. You think that would be just an upgrade and definitely like becomes that community anchor that you've referenced on more than one occasion, Jason, that, when you have your own stadium, your own venue, your own home base, it takes on a whole nother level and
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
something psychological sinks in to you that this is here to stay. When you're sharing venues or you're sharing time or just a tenant, one decision, one email later, and the whole future of the organization can go tail up there to a degree. So interesting progress for Tulsa. A different story, though. I don't know if you want to catch your breath before we go to our next stadium story.
Well, I wanted you to actually do something else that I just messaged you about. So maybe we can do
Oh,
that
our
instead.
private messages are off the side of my screen. Excuse me. Do Kickathon promo, of course. Let's do it.
Did you just read the stage directions, Rob? Did
I
you just
did.
read the stage directions? Oh my god!
Hey, we're having fun here. Yes, Kickathon 2. We're going September 16th.
Let me get this off the screen right now because
We're
we're
doing
all
it
messed
live,
again.
guys. We're doing it live.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh
We're
my
doing it live.
god!
Kickathon 2, September 16th. Look at that beautiful poster there. Couldn't be more excited. Subscriber and member drive marathon show, our second ever Kickathon. It will start off at 9:30 and 3-ish hours there. And Kickathon 1 was a wonderful success. Thanks to many of the folks tuned in today and part of that Magnificent Seven of our original membership group. But yeah, we will have some breaking news, lots of announcements, and quite a few bits of fun here on our second ever Kickathon scheduled for September 16th.
Well, I'll throw this poster up in the Discord for anybody, all the ultras who want to go out and spread the word and help us out and put that in places. That would be very nice. So yeah, and just pointing people to in the direction of the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel if they want to be part of this extravaganza of American soccer joy. That's what I'm going to call that.
Extravaganza joy. I like it. That's pretty good, and I want to get that feeling on here connected to soccer and try to spread the joy and give us a little bit more elevate the platform as we explore this very unique moment in sports in American
absolutely. Yeah, that's why we're here. Help us out so we can keep going and covering this stuff. Yes, I would like to address this comment on screen. Damn, Robert makes Jason look super short. Robert is a long, lanky lad, is what he is. And I am an average dude. Like, I'm not tiny by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just not 6 foot. What are you, 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah, I'm 6'4". Yeah, that's that. But it's almost all legs, and so because if I slouch in the chair, I look short on these streams. But then, like once I stand up, I go about a foot or a half.
That's why it's why this is an amazing setup for me. I don't have to look short next to you, as opposed to in person. And again, let me put it back on the screen one more time. There's our poster for Kickathon. Yes, that's how much taller Rob is than me. That's from our visit to New Mexico United. So shout out. There you go. All right, Rob, what's next?
All right, we are going to turn our eyes to a stadium that is well underway. Some news sneaking up and some photos, some images that kind of showed how far along McDonald's Park in Chicago, which has the potential to be really the crown jewel of MLS and American soccer if this is what happens right in downtown Chicago. And construction well beyond shovels in the ground. There's actually stuff coming up out of the ground, but I think we want to bask in these renderings for a moment here.
Well, I just wanted to show the renderings because this is what they plan to build. I think it's 22,000 seats, 31,000 for concerts because, of course, they'll put people on the infield. I hadn't seen this picture, Rob, or I hadn't gone back and reviewed it. I'm not saying this is new, but this is apparently what they intended to sort of look like nestled in where it's going in the 78, I believe, is that area of Chicago. It's sort of it's loop adjacent. I'm not an expert on you live there. I'm not an expert on Chicago geography, but I do kind of have a rough idea. And I believe you can see that Soldier Field back there on the lake,
Yeah, that's a
which
great view.
will, by the time this thing's built, Soldier Field may not be in use by anybody because of what's going on with the Bears. Here are the pictures we were talking about. Shout out, by the way, to the to r/Chicago on Reddit, which is where these pictures came from. I don't know if there's a webcam out there watching this progress unfold, but we got girders and we got pilings. Is that what those are called? And we've got cranes, Rob, and it looks like we've almost got sort of stand like. I don't think those are stands. I'm not sure exactly what's going. Maybe they are. Maybe those are stands. Maybe those are stairs. Actually, you're seeing there from seats to the concourse. I have no idea. I think we're early stages, but it's starting to look like something.
Yeah, if you squint hard enough, that you could see that's like the boxes at the at midfield there. But as we look at this, you gotta just kind of take a step back and take a big reflection on how remarkable this is, that this is actually happening. Like, somehow in downtown Chicago, one of the most built up places in the United States, there was somehow an undeveloped piece of land here adjacent to the epicenter of Chicago, and somehow the soccer team was able to beat all the other teams that seem to be jockeying for stadiums all at the same time. And the fact that the Chicago Fire, the team that has made so many misplays and mismanagements of things, were able to beat out those kind of legacy franchises in American sports to this piece of land. And the visual evidence that things are actually happening, I just assumed in the back of my mind when we saw these images a few months ago, like, wow, that's a wonderful pipe dream, that looks great. But the fact that all of the community level things, I mean, obviously, don't count the chickens till they hatch and it's actually, up and running and all that, similar to the transfer. Don't trust it until you see the player on the field on game day. But I mean, this seems to be really in motion, and no wrenches in the works so far. And like I said, if this turns out to be like this would be incredible. Yeah. And these aren't the ones that I talked about there, but at the initial announcements had my favorite ever renderings, the hand-drawn architecture drawings.
Yeah. The pencil-like cool, drawings, yeah. I want to address a couple things in the chat. Shout out to Marcus, who's saying the land is obviously too small for an NFL team, so who else is going to go for it? I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, I don't remember how intent the Bears were on this plot. I know the White Sox desperately wanted this plot of land. And if it's big enough for a 45,000 seat baseball stadium, that's bigger than a 22,000 seat soccer stadium. I wonder if the footprint of the stadium being smaller for a soccer team was actually one of the ways to sell it, right? Like, oh, you can develop more things in this plot in this area than just the soccer stadium, because if you put a baseball stadium there, it's a bigger footprint. I have no idea. In terms of what Luis is saying, Chicago has a new owner. No, I wouldn't call Joe Manfredo new. 5 years at this point, Rob, something like that. He's invested quite a bit in this team, right? Now, not all of it has worked.
No,
right?
Certainly not.
Some missteps along the way, but I think the Greg Berhalter thing is working so far. They didn't lose last night to Monterrey, which really, shame in that. Really, it's that one monsters at CONCACAF. Although from what I could tell, it was kind of chaotic, and Chris Brady didn't cover himself in glory. You have a team that's competitive in MLS again. They signed Robert Lewandowski, which seems to be a home run so far, right?
I'm curious. That's one of the stories that I really want to follow. Is the Kuipers Lewandowski trade-off going to work for them? I think that's a compelling storyline.
And this is what I was saying. So thanks to Nathan, there was enough land for the Bears. They just wanted to have more space to develop housing and other businesses, right? And the city of Chicago has to kind of engage with this as we just can't hand a big plot of land in prime real estate in Chicago to the Bears to build a 75,000 seat, 70,000 seat football stadium, right? So they kind of did okay, soccer team, soccer stadium, much smaller. We can have some space for some other things. So, I mean, I'm so excited for this one, right? I talked to Joe Schatz last night on the radio, and he does radio for the Fire, and he was out in Bridgeview for that game against Monterrey. And he's like, yeah, man, Bridgeview is terrible. They had to get out of Bridgeview. Now, Soldier Field's obviously not ideal. They're trying to you're trying to regain some credibility within the city of Chicago. They have to be good on the field. That's step
Oh yeah.
one.
Yeah,
And so
without a doubt.
that's moving in the right direction so far. But having a stadium that is going to properly show off professional soccer in Chicago and not be 6 buses and 45 to 50 minutes away from where people live,
Anyone.
like that, completely inaccessible to the north side people is Bridgeview. So, you know, this
Well,
is going to
Soldier Field has the same issue. Like, it's not easy to get to Soldier Field. Like, they
right,
moved
right.
one devil to the other. Like, impossible to get to for most for Bridgeview, and then impossible to get to for many. There's no like casually going to Soldier Field. Like, it is an adventure to get to that venue.
Yes, no, absolutely. So this is accessible. There's going to be another, sort of extra level to why you go there beyond just the soccer games. And if that, that benefits the city of Chicago, that's good. And then obviously if it benefits soccer in Chicago, that's even better.
There's been a lot of nicknames bandied about because of obviously it's a McDonald's and a lot of mixed stadium sort of comments. But I want to say my favorite comment of the show so far, my favorite nickname comes from Jack. The Chicago Play Place is kind of a fun one.
I think Big Mac is right there, but Play Place is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it. It's not bad.
Yeah, so I want to go
Hold on.
again.
The house that Grimace built. Is that what can we say it that? Can we say that?
I think that would be a really good option to go with if like things are going bad. Like you could almost use like there's so much like McDonald's lore and nicknames that depending on how the team's doing, it could be they made it the castle or something like that. There was a castle in the McDonald's lore, right? Or if they lose a lead, the Fire were hamburgled out of 2 points again last night, sort of headline.
Yeah. They are mentioning some of the guys in the chat that the subway is not exactly close. Now I don't know what accessibility efforts Chicago will engage in order to make it more accessible. I don't know. We shall see. Obviously, you're not. You don't just build an L station without with a lot of red tape and funding and that kind of thing. So it is something to watch.
All right, yeah. So the Chicago Stadium McDonald's Place is the proper name for McDonald's Place or McDonald's Park here?
It's McDonald's Park. Officially, it's McDonald's Park.
McDonald's Park. McDonald's Park. All right, we got it. McDonald's Park officially being built, and it's great to see. And we'll follow that to see if it continues on schedule and becomes, one of the jewels of American soccer. We have our guest waiting in the wings here for a moment, but I want to remind you guys one more time. The 16th of September, Kickathon 2. I want to make a big deal of this. We want to have big news, big guests, and a whole lot of fun and updates in a 3+ hour show. Second time ever doing a marathon approach to the program. Want to do a lot of clangs, want to award a lot of people and bring in some of the community as well. So definitely put that on your calendars and tell your friends. You just like we say for this show, you can thumbs up, share, like it, doesn't cost you a darn thing. And we want to get to that 10K subscriber mark. We're at like 9,700. We're so close. We want to hit that mark. That's such a good round number to get to 10K, huh?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. We can get there. I know Mr. Bob is cheerleading in that direction. So please help us out. If you haven't subscribed already, it costs you nothing to subscribe. You're already watching YouTube. But obviously, you want to join the community and become an ultra. Just a couple bucks a month. You get access to the Discord. You get the bonus stuff. We'll be putting your dot on the map as well. And again, we're handing out badges, new honors to those who support us best. So I'm very much looking forward to that. That'll probably be part of the Kickathon celebration as well.
And if you received one of those gift memberships, 15 gifted during this show, get into the posts on the channel and the Discord link is there. And get in that Discord link, join the community. We got community conversations from all ranges of conversations across the leagues, all the levels. And you can also add your location and we can dot the map and get you on there at the end of Friday's show. All right, we're going to move right along and move on to our guest. We're going to talk about a brand refresh up next here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Very excited to have Dave Gallus from Sporting Cascades return to the program. The story of Sporting Cascades expansion team in USL League One first came to our attention when the team announced their brand, Sporting Cascades. And Dave was wonderful enough to respond and talk about his brand. And there's been further news on the brand of Sporting Cascades, and we'd like to talk about that. So welcome, Dave. Thank you for sharing time with us here on Morning Kick Around.
Thanks for having me, Rob, Jason. Good to be back on.
It's good to have you, Dave. I mean, we talked to your new owner not that long ago. When was that, Rob? Last month, I think we talked to Bill.
It was a nice summer day out in the park.
He was in the park. Yeah, it was a lovely backdrop he had there as he was dropping off his daughter for soccer. Let's talk about that first, Dave. Let's talk about what the new ownership, the local guy, obviously with some soccer connections and some history, brings to Sporting Cascades before we talk about where you guys are as you sort of take a new look at things.
Yeah, it's a lot different. He has a commitment to this community. He's doing a number of projects here. He's on the board of the Knight campus for scientific advancement at the U of O. He's really committed to the economic well-being of this community and sees this club as part of that. We're having amazing um, sponsorship partnership meetings, if you will. And we've had one company turn us down so far. And we've had a number of companies that want to take a big swing at this and be part of a core founding group of companies that really make this successful and see ways that we can go on, beyond what's happening on the pitch and really do have an economic impact in this community. Beyond that, there's a real void between, what is the Ducks football monster and, our minor league baseball team is going away. There's nothing else. So there's a really wide lane that we can hit just for the fan in the community. So he comes from, as you know, a pretty serious business background. He's got the means to do this right, and he is in our business every day.
Yeah, so incredibly hands-on level of ownership, you'd say?
Very much so. We just had an offsite with our leadership group, with our leadership team last week, and after 6.5 hours of meeting, we decided it was time to put the pencils and keyboards down, and we still hadn't gotten through everything. But it's really intense. It's really good. He holds everyone to a really high standard, and I think this is the way it should be done.
Yeah, and that probably sort of ethos reflects from top down. It seemed like that's a great way to start everything off. The plan, right, is to start on the field in 2027, correct?
Correct.
And so one of the big reasons on here, there's been extra time to consider the branding. And before we jump into the whys or the considerations, I'd like Jason to bring in the video of your latest post that really caught our attention. Almost like a deconstruction of the Sporting Cascades badge.
Indeed. Yeah, I think there are a few things behind that. One is simply it wasn't to Bill's taste. It was very much a reflection of the former owner. And the former owner's goals were to create something that had a much more regional reach. And that's something that we're not interested in at this point as much. We really want to focus on Eugene, Springfield, those southern Willamette Valley. So we didn't see any reason to keep Sporting. There's also just an aesthetic component that does not jive between the two owners. One was very modern, very stark, very angular, and I think that was reflected in the badge in a way that our community didn't necessarily. Everyone didn't like it. Everyone didn't dislike it. We literally did a survey, and it was a perfect bell curve, and we need to be better than that.
So, I mean, look, I imagine there's a little humble pie in all of this, Dave. I mean, considering the way things started, and you went down this road as from your history in town with the team to start a professional soccer team. Without getting into anything you can't talk about, what has it been like for you? I mean, obviously your brother's passing is part of this story as well. I mean, we can't ignore that. So how has this been for you?
I wouldn't, I wouldn't say humble pie as much as it's just another bump in the road.
Okay.
It's, you know, I started this whole project with my brother because we had an old stadium that was a really valuable community asset that was under threat from being torn down by a big box store. People contributed money to save that stadium. I think we raised $4.2 million in under 6 months. And as soon as the stadium was saved from the bulldozers, 4 12-year-olds with matches burned it to the ground. So I went through that setback. I don't think a rebrand is too big a deal.
It's fair.
No,
That's a good point.
yeah, in the grand scheme of things, and you said there's been some bumps in the road, like the stadium, your loss, and then the ownership change and kind of the date changes. So like it almost seems like a train that has found its tracks, and kind of that next thing is this rebranding. And so, kind of what's the process of design for this next, and what will be the debut look for Cascades when you hit the field?
So we've done further town hall sort of meetings and gotten a lot of feedback. And now we have multiple designers working on concepts, and it's just trying to keep trying to keep everything in the right direction while also getting feedback along the way to make sure that we get this right. We got some really good feedback on some details, on some direction. People loved the concept of, not necessarily the Three Sisters Mountains, which are a little bit further away from us, but reflecting our natural. They love the two rivers. They think maybe bring in Spencer's Butte here, which sits at the southern end of town. You can see from the stadium, having a little bit more locally founded things and softening things up. They really like the leaning into the nature, the Forest Service, the sort of retro camping vibe, the whatever. Those things are all the things that we heard. So we have to try to thread that needle and come up with something that people are excited about, but people relate to, and people are proud about putting out to the rest of the country. One of the comments was, "Whatever we do, the rest of the country is going to make fun of it. So let's make sure we don't give them too much ammunition."
Well, I mean, obviously, look, we acknowledge, and I think we did this when we took a look at your original badge. But it's a difficult thing to do, to thread a needle of keeping everybody happy. You want to connect with your local community, but you also want something that kind of has a little bit broader reach. And there's this idea that we're sort of boxed in by soccer traditions, and you can't go too far from that or people get really weird about it, Dave. I'm sure all of that is part of it, and I'm sure Bill has very strong ideas on from his background of what a good logo, if you want to call it that, is supposed to look like.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thread that was common in our discussions internally is, we have our new coach, Darren Sawatsky. He presented his full game model last week to leadership. We're going to take risks on the field. He's going to be on the forward foot. He said he's going to have the fittest team he's ever had. And he presented what he wants to do. He wants to counter press. He wants to be aggressive. And I told him, like, that looks risky. And he said, yeah, it's going to be exciting for the fans. And I'm with it. I'm with him on that. Let's go. Let's do it that way. And Bill is taking the approach to the badge the same way. He's like, we're not going to put the same thing out. We're not going to be alienating. We're not going to be weird, but we're going to take some risks.
Yeah, that is threading the needle. Is like be aggressive but not offensive, and then play exciting ball on the field. With a lot of pros and cons, that could be very exciting. But it's the blanket can't cover everything, and so it could go back and forth from the sound of it if that's actions are put out onto the field. And so, looking at kind of your forward-facing materials on social media and whatnot, it seems like you guys have been doing meet and greets and some public appearances, and kind of what's been the reception getting, and how has been, making Sporting Cascades a face-to-face entity?
Yeah, I think it's something we've done all summer. I mean, we had really successful World Cup watch parties. We've been out at festivals. We've been meeting people where they are, where they live, where they have fun, introducing ourselves. And I think the biggest thing for us is, as you said at the beginning, getting people to understand that this train is back on the tracks. This is real. It's happening in March. We have a coach. We're have a couple players that have signed pre-contracts. We can't announce yet because they're still under contract with their current club. We have a couple players who are out of contract that hopefully we'll be able to announce soon. And this is real. Is the biggest message in all of this. And whatever happens with the badge happens with the badge. But we got to be in the stands in March.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's a little tricky because you want something for people to hold on to, right? And you had a name and you had a badge, and now that's going to change, and you kind of have to, are people? Is there any real worry that people in Eugene in the little wider area are going to be sort of confused by any of this?
Oh, 100%. They're already confused. When we call and tell them about the things we're doing, one of the most common questions we get is this really happening? I mean, a lot of people have heard about the club, a lot of people have heard about the project, but is this really happening? And so we are now out telling people in as many ways as we can, definitively this is happening, and we will be competitive, and we're going to take our best swing at this thing in March.
So what's the next thing for folks to kind of look out for? Is there an appearance? Are we going to see the rebrand? Well, what's the next step of the Sporting Cascades pre-launch journey? Pre-kickoff.
We have to get this right, so we're going to take our time. We'd like to get this out as soon as possible. We'd like to drop in the next couple of weeks, but we also need to make sure that we jump through the hoops with the league. And like I said, that we get this right. So we're not going to hold things up based on the brand refresh, if you will. But the big thing that's coming next, that we'll announce very shortly, is we're having a select a seat event for those who are holding season ticket deposits. And your deposit will actually be your ticket to get into the event. And we're going to have 3 bands at the stadium, food trucks, beer truck, etc. So it's going to be a big festival, if you will, to launch this thing. And the deposit itself is your ticket to entry.
Can I ask about the league, right? And when we've talked to you in the past, we've talked about League One, where USL is. Obviously, we're all anxiously awaiting what the plan is for promotion and relegation when that comes together, Dave. And I won't put you on the spot because I'm not sure that's of the moment. But how has the league been? How has USL been through this whole process as you've gotten closer, knowing that you were going to kick off in March, regardless of sort of some of the other stuff happening behind the scenes?
The league has been great. The people working there, on the ground, the support staff, the onboarding staff, the expertise that lives in those offices now is pretty impressive. There has been a shakeup, as you know, in leadership there, and that's definitely changed things. As to the other bigger picture items, we have a board of governors meeting in a few weeks, and hopefully a lot of those things will become clearer, and I'll get a better sense of how things are running at that high level. But they made it through the CBA. The League One CBA is up this next year. Hopefully that's a little smoother sailing. But yeah, I think overall the league's on the right track.
That's interesting to note that there has been change in approach since the head and leadership there, and interesting to see which direction that all heads. But exciting nonetheless for you guys kicking off in USL League One in 2027, and hopefully everything is as is now on the tracks as you described yourself, and heading towards that countdown to kickoff, perhaps in 2027, or certainly so. And I just had this might be just to kind of get to know your district. Just before I let you go, kind of something keeps coming into mind about Eugene, Oregon specifically. And you mentioned how the Oregon Ducks football team is the behemoth there. Do folks stay in town through the summer there? Is it very seasonal? Does the town clear out? Like, is there going to be some peculiarities with it being university town and how you are going to approach how you reach out to the community?
Absolutely. It's something that we actually talk about with our sponsors as an opportunity. That any other sports that they engage with are very much one season. And then we have this season that runs March through October, hopefully into November with playoffs. So we're really looking at it as a 3-season sport with activation opportunities that are seasonal. And then we're going to offer, season tickets to university students that are broken into 3. So you have a spring ticket, you have a summer ticket, and a fall ticket. And we're going to have to operate, a little bit differently in each of those seasons because of those challenges you just raised, Rob. It's a little bit different in the summer. The students clear out for sure. And a lot of people sort of disappear a little bit more in the month of August, but then they come back in full force in September. So just the quirks that we're going to have to be aware of, but we're fully aware of them, and we're trying to make it, trying to move those things to our advantage.
Also interesting that it's another kind of through line here with this story across the United States, that kind of soccer captivating that kind of minor league audience. And you said that the minor league team is going away. Is that this year that it's going away?
We don't know for sure, but the goalposts keep moving, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, very interesting. We'll be curious to see.
Indeed. It's I think we've seen a lot of response to the World Cup. People seem to be really keyed in who wouldn't otherwise be. That certainly participation is up. And the biggest thing that we hear from soccer fans in the community is they're really excited to have a team of their own. They won't have to travel 2 hours up I-5 to go to a Timbers game.
Yes. Looking forward to getting that dot thoroughly on the map here, Sporting Cascades. Dave, thank you once again for stopping by, and we eagerly await the new look for your club.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and big thank you to Dave and his time and his insightful answers. A lot to chew on in that interview.
Interesting stuff in there. Absolutely. I think you got a little snapshot as to, what it is like to launch a team at that level in that kind of community, right? I mean, obviously, we're not talking about hundreds of millions of dollars being thrown around to launch this club, right? There's a level here, and we need this, right? We need places like Eugene, Oregon, to have the ability. Like, we got to find an entry point, and USL and per Dave has given them the support and been good through this process. And you can go back and watch some of our other conversations with Dave and see what has been, what's transpired there, right? They lost an owner. I don't want to, that it's maybe a little bit more complicated than that, but they ultimately had an investor. It didn't work out. His money wasn't going to go far enough. He wasn't as committed as he needed to be. They had to go find somebody else. Bill Cornard steps in. He's been, from Dave's discussion with us, great to this point. It does mean it's a little awkward. Like, I don't think Dave's hiding from the fact that it's a little awkward that this is a team that was like, here's our name and here's our logo, and then it's like, wait a second, hold on, we need a do-over. But I would rather, and we've said this before, Rob, mistakes should be allowed, right? I mean, it makes it a little more difficult for them in the community. They have to do that work, and I'm sure that they're working really hard to make sure that people understand what's happening here. But, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good when it comes to launching soccer clubs in America. And also, clubs that are like, well, we can't really foot the bill to play at this level. Maybe we need to drop down a level. That needs to be an option. Still fascinated, and I'm just saying, throwing this out there because it got brought up a little bit, fascinated how Pro Rel is going to impact all of this stuff, right? If and when that does happen for USL.
Yeah, certainly interesting stories ahead. Stick with us today. We continue to talk about the oddities of the Leagues Cup up next here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome on in Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason. And I just wanted to bring up the Leagues Cup and how it's such an unnatural oddity of a competition. And further evidence of that is the venues that this week's quarterfinals are being played. Just to list the four quarterfinals, two of them were played last night. But Monterey versus Chicago Fire played out in Ridgeview. They have their location issues. That's not a big deal. But Club Leon versus Real Salt Lake in Colorado, that's an oddity. Club America versus Columbus Crew in Carson, California tonight. And then Toluca versus Austin. And guess where? I read it before the show, but if you didn't know that, you'd never be able to guess that Toluca and Austin is going to be played at Red Bull Arena. It's just very, very strange, Jason.
Well, I mean, look, you've got a competition that from the very beginning, its ethos was we're making some cash. We're putting together the two biggest leagues in North America to try to combine forces so that we can find more ways to chip away at the problem of making more soccer fans in this part of the world. I mean, I I was reading I think a thread somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it was, and it was about the way that Liga MX interacts with MLS, and it's like Liga MX doesn't really need this the way that MLS does. Now, clearly, MLS made it worth Liga MX's while on some level. Otherwise, this wouldn't exist. It's already changed formats in the just a couple years it's existed. Again, no games in Mexico for the first 3 or 4 years or whatever that was. We had a couple of games in Mexico this season. It was only a certain handful of subset of teams that had like earned their opportunity somehow to host games, and now you get the quarterfinals happening all over the place, and it all just kind of gathers up to be this is a whole ball of crap. I don't mind watching the games. I even watched a little bit of Monterrey and Chicago last night, Rob, because it was Wednesday night or Tuesday night rather, and I had nothing else going on for like a half hour between the end of dinner and bedtime for Tiago, and I was like, okay, I'll check on this. It didn't seem to be that great of an energy at Bridgeview at that stadium there, because that's where Chicago was playing their Leagues Cup matches. They're not playing. I guess it had something to do with the Bears. There's preseason football happening now. I don't know. But the whole thing just doesn't feel legitimate. And so with the new commissioner of Major League Soccer, Larry Bird, coming in next year, with the fact that, again, I'm not sure Liga MX needs this, it's probably going to go away. Like, that's what it feels like to me. Like, I don't know exactly what the point is anymore, especially when MLS changes its calendar. Now it becomes, a preseason tournament or something for MLS? Like, I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point about the calendar shift. Where does it lie in there? And that's going to be reconstructed in this year, a different format. And it's it's been an oddity in the first place. And obviously the Mexican League and MLS are in this to get dates it seems like a money play, an obvious money play, despite, almost sporting merit be damned. Like we're just doing this thing. And I'd be surprised. I hope that your thought that this is going to go away comes true, because I would love full participation in the Open Cup, because that's been the major distraction. Whether or not that's going to happen or that leads to that, but I'd find it hard to believe that if Leagues Cup over these couple years that it's existed has made money, most of these guys don't just like walk away from money. So it's hard to believe for me that they're going to walk away from it entirely. And there was a comment I wanted to reply to. Riverside Grove. I can't believe American soccer fans are okay with Leagues Cup at the expense. I don't know if people are okay with it. It's just their team is playing a game, so they're gonna, root for their team in a competition. There's plenty of people that have aired disappointed.
Sure, but let's not overstate the engagement of the average American soccer fan at the risk of insulting, soccer fandom in America. I don't think I will, but at the risk of that, I don't know that people care that much, Rob. I mean, we are in the subset that do. Riverside Grove is in the subset that does. Everybody who posts on Reddit or comments on soccer blogs or is on, has hashtag pro rel for USA in their bios is obviously in the subset of people who very much care about the Open Cup and dismiss the Leagues Cup or see the Leagues Cup as a problem because of the impact it seems to have had on the Open Cup and MLS's participation. But guys, I mean, I hate to tell you, I just don't know that that's the concern. And that's, that's a problem in the sense that it means MLS can always excuse their decisions around the Open Cup and choosing to play in the Leagues Cup and formulating this thing as, well, we're just doing what's best for us. And there aren't enough fans who will apply pressure on us to do it another way to force us in that direction, right? That's just not there. And I don't know if that, like, Riverside Grove called it disappointing. I guess you could say that, right? I guess you could say it's disappointing. I also don't know that I love judging other people's engagement and fandom with soccer in America. Like, I don't know that I love standing here and going, well, my fandom is more legitimate and more you know, more connected to the game and the true spirit of it than yours is because you don't care about the Open Cup the way I do. Like, I don't know if I love that judgment.
But it is disappointing that from, like you're saying, our subset, it would have been more encouraging, less disappointing if there was more of an uproar or a fervor or a pushback to the competition, I guess, or just, but that's all like awareness and knowledge of what this competition is replacing. It takes a level of knowledge to get worked up about it.
But that's the thing. Like, you also are making a presumption there. And I'm not saying you're wrong, because I don't know if we have a measurement of this. I don't know that we have like a way to, unless we get somebody, polling soccer fans across the spectrum, across the country, all walks of life, all various levels of interest. I don't know that we can say that people know about the Open Cup and know about its history and are like that they don't know about it, and that's why they're okay with this, or that's why they're less concerned, or they're not making noise about MLS not participating fully in the Open Cup. Like, I don't know for sure that that's the situation. It could be that those people know the Open Cup is there and just don't care about it. They just made a calculation. Maybe that's because they're newer and they don't appreciate the tradition, or maybe because they just don't, their sensibilities are not tied to tradition. Again, I don't know how to judge that as like along a spectrum of fan value. Like, oh, you're a better fan because of X, or you're a worse fan because of Y. That we're not, unfortunately, again, American soccer still is not in a beggars can be choosers kind of world.
Oh yeah, you're totally on board with that, but it's also another one of the topics that's a chicken and the egg sort of situation. Do people take it more seriously if the organizers and the schedule put it more on a pedestal? Like, if they made way for Saturday window for Open Cup, that would set it on a different pedestal than it's a midweek tournament that I've never really heard of. You can blow right by that really easily. It's like, if is it put on the big platform to start off with to say this is important or not?
Okay,
It
again,
all rolls into each other.
And I'm just talking this out, right? I'm not saying you're wrong, because again, I don't know. I live in the bubble. You live in the bubble. We all live in this space where it's like everybody knows what the Open Cup is. And everybody we interact with, generally speaking, cares about it and thinks it's important and sees it. Some of us, not everybody, but some of us see it as full of potential that's not being realized, right? Because again, it's very easy for our brains to connect that to the FA Cup. If only we cared about the US Open Cup the way that the English care about the FA Cup, wouldn't a great tournament we would have? And yeah, there's some truth to that. The question of whether or not fans know about it, whether you could market your way into better recognition and awareness, and whether that awareness would then beget interest, those are some dots you kind of have to do a bunch of work to connect. And I think there are lots of fans who just want to say, well, U.S. Soccer should throw a bunch of money at the U.S. Open Cup problem, and that would fix it. Because they don't think U.S. Soccer is throwing enough money at the U.S. Open Cup problem, it's an easy way to explain the problems with the Open Cup. If only there was more marketing, then it would be a bigger tournament. But that's wish casting on a level I'm not sure you can back up with reality.
I just don't think MLS should turn its back on it, because I remember on more than one
that's
year.
You're doing that as a, you think they shouldn't do that out of a sense of obligation to something that has history.
No,
right?
I think that it connects in a different way, because on more than one occasion, like MLS is on their own website, they'll have top 10 moments of this year. and there will be Open Cup moments in the mix of those even. And then people you talk to have, I guess I'm also in the bubble because, part of my way of buying into the American domestic game was through Open Cup games. I think my very first Chicago Fire game was an Open Cup game. So I had that personal connection, but I guess anyone that makes that personal connection, it lasts with them in a different way than league competition or leagues cups, bringing it back to the topic.
I'm sympathetic to all of this. I'm sympathetic to all of this. And I'm trying to formulate something on the story out of Mexico, which I see Broadway Joe is posting about in the chat, and I need to follow up on. But I'm writing that from this perspective. Like my question is, what is owed to this idea of promotion, relegation, and sporting merit, and does it matter what the culture of your country is when it comes to the sport? And certainly, are we comfortable, everybody across the board? I'm not just talking about people in boardrooms who make decisions or people whose pockets will be lined by making more money, but are we all comfortable with the trade-off that comes from choosing that tradition, culture, sporting merit over the dogged effort to make progress and be bigger? And I don't just mean bigger and like make money bigger. I mean more competitive. I mean higher level of quality. I mean rating better around the world when it comes to the football, soccer that is played in our part of the world. Like that trade-off is really tricky, and I don't know that everybody engages with it honestly. Because I hear, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but I hear enough people kind of wanting it both ways, Rob. Right? We don't want big money to dictate everything to do with football, but we also want the soccer to be way better than it is. And unfortunately, in 2026, I'm not sure you can decouple those things.
Unfortunately not, but for those interested in the first half of the matchups for the Leagues Cup quarterfinal, Monterrey defeated Chicago and Bridgeview. Leon beat Salt Lake in Colorado, and tonight there is Toluca, Austin, and Club America versus Columbus. Big thanks to our guest, Dave Gallus, today. Definitely interested to see what they cook up with the Sporting Cascades brand refresh. Very interesting interview. If you're just tuning in, I recommend watching it on replay. And before we step away, there we go. Morning Kickaround's Kickathon 2, September 16th, our second ever marathon session show. And hopefully we'll be breaking some news, bringing in some fun guests, and having some fun with some games. 9:30 September 16th. And if we don't hit it before, we will be driving towards that 10,000 subscriber mark, and then releasing some announcements of news too.
Yeah, who knows what could happen? Anything could happen on that show. Special guests that you just wouldn't expect. Again, some big announcements, some disclosures. I don't know. Maybe we'll have an announcement about our next live show by then. That could very well be in the offing. Not going to say anything now, Rob, because I don't want to jinx it. Plus, you gotta under promise and over deliver, maybe.
The poker face on you, Mr. Davis, is just out of this world. But big thanks to Ryan and Mr. Bob, who donated memberships. If you have just taken that membership or did earlier in the week, get that Discord link from the posts part of the YouTube channel here for Morning Kickaround. Get into the Morning Kickaround Discord server, and then there's lots of threads there. Great conversations from local ball, all the leagues, national, all across the board.
I think
dot the map.
I think the link that is posted to the YouTube channel, so once you become a member, you'll have access to all those posts. I believe the link there is still fresh. You still use that link to join the Discord server if you're not already in the community.
Yeah, and on Friday, as we do, we will dot the map, and there's a couple in the thread in the Discord server. There is a dot the map thread to put your location in there. There's a couple already, and if you've just gobbled up one of those new memberships from today, get on in there and put your location in. We'll put you on the Morning Kickaround map on Friday morning.
We will unveil an improvement, a small one, to the MK Ultra map that has been made And we'll again, we've got some things coming that you can achieve. You can unlock some achievements with your participation as an MK Ultra.
All right, hit the thumbs up, share this show if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe, help us get to that 10K mark. We'll be back on Friday morning. Until then, everyone stay brave, remain safe, and enjoy your soccer.